Hi everyone, Josh Rugger here in studio with your latest severe weather update. The recording Good Day NWA in the other studio right now, so we have to be a little bit quieter in here than we normally are. So I'm just going to kind of set everything up. But I just wanted to provide this update to give you the latest details on what we're expecting as we move throughout the overnight hours tonight into early tomorrow morning. Of course, we just got the latest day one convective outlook in from the Storm Prediction Center, and it's got a big time upgrade, not only for Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley, but also for our neighbors a little bit farther to the west as well in Central Oklahoma. Very rare high risk of severe weather issued in those locations. So a lot to discuss in this weather live stream. Let's get right to it and show you what we're working with right now here in the weather world. So this is the latest satellite and radar image. You notice that warm front that's draped over southern Oklahoma and southern Arkansas as well, lifting off to the north and east. This warm front's going to pull in that low level moisture off to the north and bring that potential for widespread showers and storms as we move throughout the afternoon and evening hours in central Oklahoma. You also notice we've got this sharp dry line that's developing here just off to the west of the Texas-Oklahoma panhandle. And this is where those showers and storms are expected to fire off as we move throughout the afternoon hours today. In fact, if we take a look at high-resolution water vapor, you can see all that energy that's starting to pick up right now just off to our west near Denver. That's a very strong low-pressure system. Little short waves starting to show up there on water vapor as well. And that's going to nose into that dry line and spark those showers and thunderstorms as we move throughout the next 12 to 24 hours or so. So definitely setting up to be a very dangerous day, not only here in Northwest Arkansas, but also out in Western Oklahoma. And I just mentioned how there is that high risk of severe weather that's issued. Folks, you typically do not see this. This happens about once every 2 years or so. We did see a high risk in Central Arkansas last year, March 31st. 2023, and that produced that big tornado in the Little Rock area. And now you've got another high risk of severe weather that's been issued for central Oklahoma there. So let's kind of zoom in a little bit, take a look at those risks in more detail. There's that level 5 out of 5 high risk located over the Oklahoma City metro area, pointing north along the I-35 corridor towards Wichita and southern Kansas. Of course, we also have that level 4 to 5 moderate risk, getting pretty close to Delaware County. We'll see in future updates if that's expanded a little bit. But here in Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley, we have had an increase in that severe weather potential as well. You'll notice we now have a level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk of severe weather, mainly for areas just along and west of the I-49 corridor. So these locations right here in that orange shaded area are going to see the best chance for widespread severe weather as we move throughout the overnight hours tonight. That also includes the I-40 corridor just off to the west of Fort Smith, with areas east of I-49, more towards Harrison and Logan and Johnson County. These areas are now under a level 2 out of 5, slight risk for severe weather. Notice the main time frame. This is my greatest concern with this particular storm system, is that the timing of these thunderstorms in Northwest Arkansas is going to be between about 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., and the main concerns continue to be damaging wind gusts, perhaps destructive wind gusts in portions of Northwest Arkansas over 70 miles per hour, as well as even some strong tornadoes. And you'll notice in the latest tornado risk that we've got this yellow shaded area that now includes the I-49 corridor. So this is a tornado-driven enhanced risk over Northwest Arkansas, folks. And you notice this hashed area right here. That's where the potential for significant tornadoes exist, and that's in northeast Oklahoma as well as far western areas of Northwest Arkansas. So we'll see if that continues to get expanded. There's a lot of things that are starting to come into play right now that we're watching very closely, and our confidence continues to increase in terms of that severe weather potential. But check this out. I updated this color table right here so you can see this a little bit better. Look at central Oklahoma. They are in that extreme range for tornadoes. That's a 30% hatched area for tornadoes. Significant, strong, intense, long-track tornadoes will be possible here. And these locations right here certainly need to stay weather aware. They are definitely under the gun. This has the potential to be a tornado outbreak that we'll remember for a long time in portions of central Oklahoma. As a matter of fact, a guy who knows a lot about historic tornado outbreaks, who have seen one in Oklahoma, in fact, on May 3rd, 1999, is Chief Meteorologist Dan Scoff. And he is actually here right now driving on the roadways and getting ready to roll for tonight, man. It's going to be a long one here in Northwest Arkansas.
It sure will. Yeah, taking care of the honey-do list. Got some things that I had to do for my wife, so running around, obviously. And I get my hair cut today, so I'll have a fresh look for tonight as we do some fresh storm tracks with the weather team. But, you mentioned it, Josh, that this could be historic. Historic is not a word that meteorologists throw around very often. And I do believe that this does have the makings. Now, obviously, May 3rd and some of the bigger events, May 8th, 2003, um, May 10th, 2015. These are all dates that like meteorologists know they've happened. So they were historic. This is one of those that, it hasn't happened yet, but it does appear that it could be rather significant. So what's interesting is you look at all the models and you kind of what we call SARS, which is statistical analog relay. It's I forgot what it stands for. Do you remember?
I
It's
don't
early this
actually.
morning.
I know it's analogs. It has analog in it.
Yeah, sounding analog. It's called SARS.
Mhm.
I can't remember what it stands for, but you'll maybe look that up so I can learn something new every day. But
Yeah, the
SARS
sounding analog retrieval system.
retrieval system. That's what it
Yeah,
is. I couldn't
that was the
remember.
last
So
two words.
what that means is the retrieval system is looking at this weather pattern and it matches what it's seen in the past. And what it's seen in the past is May 3rd, 99, because they look eerily similar. And
Yeah.
the supercells that break out on the models, there's just really not a lot of things that are going to inhibit that severe weather potential. Now, the people need to know that on May 3rd, 99, the risk was west of us. But then as we go into May 4th of 99, there were some tornadoes in northwest Arkansas, including one long track tornado that traveled in an area that probably people don't think tornadoes can travel until we had the April 13th, 2018 Mountainberg tornado that did go through the Ozark Mountains. But there was a long track tornado over 35 miles long, and it was an F3 at the time on May 4th, 99. So if if we're saying that we're watching this really close and you need to be watching it close as well, these are definitely some very important tips, and we're being serious. We're not just messing around.
Yeah, and you don't see the high risk thrown around very often either, right? It takes a lot. The best way I saw this tweet, Dan, the best way to describe a high risk is like you're at a poker table, right? And you're basically going all in, right? You've got all the money on the table, you're throwing it all in. The Storm Prediction Center rarely issues these level 5 out of 5 high risk or severe weather. And that's what we're seeing right now in central Oklahoma and southern Kansas. But northwest Arkansas, as we just saw, has actually been expanded a little bit in terms of that severe weather potential as well. Now we have an enhanced risk for more of northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. And I feel like that could continue to expand as we go throughout the rest of the day today. Now, of course, these storms may be on a bit of a weakening trend as they progress off to the south and east, but the environment that we have in place right now certainly favors those thunderstorms remaining pretty significant as they move along the I-49 corridor and areas farther south.
Yeah, March 18th, 1925, Olson, the tri-state tornado was definitely an issue. I want to see. Can you see that comment? Did I pop it up? Oh, good.
Yeah,
It's working.
I popped it up just right there for you.
Oh, you did? Or did I pop
Yes,
it
sir.
up?
I clicked on it.
Okay.
We may have touched it at the same time.
Let me see if I can remove it. See, yeah, I don't know. I was seeing if the app, if you can add comments. So let me try someone here real quick. Show
Yeah.
on stage. Is that showing up? No.
I don't see it on here. No, sir.
Yeah, I don't know how to show on stage. It doesn't show up. So, anyways, that's fine.
Yeah. But and Dan, I just did this with the tornado risk too. I don't know if you saw my text. I changed the color table a little bit because the 30% hashed area on this map was like a darker red that you could barely see. And I consider,
really?
yeah, and I consider, 30%. Obviously, that's a high risk driven tornado risk. I consider that on the extreme end. So I went ahead and made that pink, and then a 45% and 60% are more of those darker blues that you see on the prediction center map.
I do, yeah. I love the way that we have the hatched area the same angle as the significant as the SPC. Here's one of the things that I know a lot of meteorologists are doing, and they're going with colorblind. Basically people that are colorblind, they can look at these, and so they're friendly for colorblind people. But we want to keep the colors the same until they change the colors. It's like we want to keep the same colors because I think there could be too much confusion if you have different colors. And I know that red and green is not, safe for colorblind people, and we know that. But the problem is we can't go away from doing what the Storm Prediction Center does. Otherwise, the colors are just going to be all different. People know these colors because they're seen all the time. But you mentioned that poker table and the all in. Yeah, the SBC is going in pocket aces because they have an amazing setup, but it's before the flop, so they don't even know what Mother Nature is going to deal. But they have a pretty good idea that nobody else at the table is going to have a better hand. I like that.
Yeah.
I like the analogy.
Yeah, I think that was a really good analogy for sure. And yeah, the difference, a lot of times in meteorology too, we like to compare severe weather events and stuff like that. Obviously, last week we had a higher end tornado threat in Oklahoma as well. But the difference between this one and that one, and the reason why we are seeing a high risk, is because there's not really a clear fail mode with this storm system. What we saw last week was we saw these morning rounds of showers and storms that were moving through. We had a lot of cloud cover throughout the day. The anvils of the storms were keeping that instability low. And these storms just really couldn't take off until the low-level jet kicked in during the overnight hours. Now, that still turned out to be a significant severe weather outbreak in southern Oklahoma, as we saw. It was just during the nighttime hours. It was a little bit later with the initiation. With this particular system, I think we're going to see supercells start developing out in western Oklahoma by about 4 to 5 o'clock p.m. There's going to be long-track supercells that have the capability to produce intense tornadoes. And I know a lot of folks, I know we have a lot of people in Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley who are watching this very closely. I know that there's a lot of people who may have family and friends who live out there in central Oklahoma along I-35. And I just implore you to make sure that they're staying weather aware today, because I know there's a lot of storm fatigue that's going on right now. We've had so many severe weather events over the last several weeks, over the last month, in the same spots over and over and over again. And this one looks like it could be the most significant one yet, believe it or not. It has the potential. So
this is the first high risk, by the way, Josh. Oh, go ahead. Keep going. Sorry. I thought
yeah, no, I mean, I think I know where you're going to go with that too. You were going to say this is the first high risk in Oklahoma since May 20th, 2019, right?
Yes, that's correct. So think of Oklahoma when they have some thunderstorms. They have a lot of storms. And this is the first high risk overall since March 31st, 2013. And we know what that day was, the tornado that went through Little Rock. So
yes,
these are some serious things. Now, I want you to go back to Lori's comment at 8:35 and go back to the tornado potential. Because it says, is the brown, red, and green for us? Here's the deal. Don't focus on the colors, please.
Yeah.
Because the colors don't always represent, a drop off in the risk. It might mean that the storms may be less, coverage, but sometimes they don't drop off. And so you have those storms that could be very significant. So it doesn't matter what color you're in. It doesn't matter, where you're located within that risk. You need to be weather aware. And we'll keep you up to date, and we'll let you know if storms are coming in. And if they do come in, they will be in the early morning hours. This is a really, really serious, severe weather setup. Can you go through the HRRR? I haven't seen the latest one.
Yes, sir.
You mind showing that, Josh?
Yeah, I'm going to show that right now for you. So here's the latest HRRR. Now, one thing I'm interested to see here with this latest update. So it's still showing, and I don't know if this is updated quite yet on here. No, it's not quite updated yet. But one thing that it is showing, and it has been showing pretty consistently, is maybe some isolated thunderstorm development this afternoon in portions of Northwest Arkansas. I would not be surprised if that happened. We've got a lot of energy that we're working with this particular storm system. I will say if we can get some isolated storm development, Dan, maybe that could help us out just a little bit tonight. But then again, there's just so much energy that we have to work with, so much low-level wind shear. I mean, the photographs are just insane. The low-level wind shear is just off the charts in Northwest Arkansas overnight tonight. That it may not matter that we get these isolated supercells or isolated storms out ahead of it. I think these storms that develop during the afternoon won't be in as favorable environment as what we're going to see later on tonight. And the big reason why that is because the upper-level energy will not be over Northwest Arkansas this afternoon. So if we can get some thunderstorms this afternoon, maybe the HRRR is onto something that would help us out just a little bit. But check out what comes through overnight tonight. Here comes that line of storms. It's going to start growing a little bit more upscale as we go throughout the overnight hour stat, which means we could have some widespread convection that starts developing in southern Kansas and northeastern Oklahoma right around 11 to 12 o'clock tonight. And that will be pushing along the I-49 corridor right around 1 to 3 o'clock in the morning, right when you're asleep, right when you least expect it. And this is why we are so concerned. This is my greatest concern with this particular severe weather setup, is that it's coming through at the worst possible time in Northwest Arkansas. And look at this. Look how even the HRRR, Dan, you can notice this here, is showing these little bowing segments right here as this line is oriented from northeast to southwest. And that's going to be favorable with the particular shear vector profiles that we have in place. That will be very favorable, as a matter of fact, for tornado potential along this line within embedded supercells, especially in far northwestern Arkansas. I mean, this is textbook QLCS tornado potential right here for Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. Some of our most potent QLCS tornado events come with a line that's oriented like this.
It might be a line, honestly, that looks like individual cells that, so this is the deal. QLCS is kind of the newer phrase that came out. It used to be called, back in the old day, an LEWP, a line echo wave pattern. And that looks like a line echo wave pattern. It could be individual cells that appear as a line, but they still could remain supercellular with this type of environment. It's not out of the question. And as far as that early development, I don't doubt that as well, because this energy that's coming in is rather strong, but sometimes that capping can be a little stronger than what the models show. So we shall see that. Can you zoom out on the wider view and show Oklahoma and the supercell eruption that's going to be taking place?
Yes, absolutely.
By the way, a couple of comments here. Daniel, yes, clean out your tornado shelter. That's a good idea to do. They haven't tested the sirens. Don't worry about waiting for sirens. Sirens are old, antiquated technology. Yes, they're good for you outdoors, but they're not meant for you when you're sleeping, which will be most of the people in Northwest Arkansas. Okay, so there's a supercell development. I think that's late.
Say that again? You broke up there for a minute.
I think that's too late. I don't think that's early enough for those storms developing.
Yeah, so it's got most of these supercells starting to develop, and I'm going to zoom it out here once again here. So you can see a little thin line of storms. That's kind of interesting. I don't know if I quite buy that going on in southwestern Kansas. But then you got the supercells that start developing along the I-40 corridor right around 6 o'clock. I think that's too late as well. We've seen with the last couple of storm systems. And here's one thing that you got to know about this particular model that we're showing too. This is the HRRR. And it can be a good model with severe weather setups. Obviously, it's a little bit more high resolution. But one thing that it struggles with is dry line setups. And these thunderstorms are going to be initiating along a dry line in western Oklahoma. It's always too late with breaking out convection. And we're not talking about we do have a cap in place right now for Oklahoma, but we're not talking about an insanely strong cap. So once this energy starts kicking in, and it's already starting to nose in, you can see it on water vapor. It's knocking on the doorstep of western Oklahoma as we speak. Once that energy kicks in, these storms are going to erupt. I think there's going to be widespread convection along this dry line with multiple discrete supercells. And there they are right there. And it's, again, it's a little bit later than what we expect, but look at these, Dan. I mean, these are all tornado producers. These are all producing strong tornadoes right here.
This looks like May 3rd. Looks like May 3rd, 99, maybe just slightly shifted north a little bit, but I don't, obviously the placement of that compared to what actually happens, who knows what happens, but maybe that trough ejection a little bit farther north, which is why those supercells are like that. But regardless, that is very May 3rd-esque. Every single storm that went up rotated that day. And we're talking about tremendous circulation. Can it fizzle? Just had a comment from someone, Roberts. It looks more like a fizzle. It can always fizzle. There's no doubt about that things can happen. But as far as the potential is concerned, this is something that you definitely need to watch. See those isolated cells? That looks more like an LEWP, a line echo wave pattern known as a QLCS. And sometimes the shear is strong enough to break it apart. But yeah, wind damage. And Larry had a good comment too, back just a little while ago. We are so saturated. We've had so much rain over the weekend. We had storms that came in. Granted, if you're out there, Luis, I know the storms didn't happen right at the time when the square to square was taking place, which is a blessing. That was wonderful. But we
Yeah.
know the storms happened on Saturday, though some of those lightning bolts sounded like cannons going off. And those storms happened maybe about 3 or 4 hours later than expected, which is, hey, that's awesome because, and there were storms that were supposed to come in, but it's so saturated that a little bit of wind will knock down trees because those root balls are going to be very loose. They're going to be a kind of soft soil, and you just tip over, put a little bit of pressure on those trees, and they're going to knock over a lot easier. Hey, I got to fill up here. I'll still stay on, but I'm going to drop off the camera real quick and the streamer. You can take me out, and then I'll be back after I'm done getting some gas.
Yeah, I'll just remove you from the stage and I'll add you back in when you come back.
Okay, sounds
I'll
good.
do that. Yes, sir. All right. Thanks, Dan. And we'll see you in just a minute. And we'll get back to what we're looking at here with the severe weather potential. So, again, as Dan was mentioning, this has the potential to be one of those nights that we remember for a while. Not just over, central Oklahoma, potentially northwest Arkansas and the River Valley as well. There's certainly parameter spaces there for significant severe weather. And I know a lot of folks, again, we mentioned this earlier on, have a lot of fatigue with severe weather. I completely understand that because we're fatigued as well when it comes to the severe weather threats. It's just been nonstop over the last several weeks. But point is, you need to stay weather aware tonight. You need to have multiple ways to receive warnings. I saw a comment from Josh Weisel. Not get caught up in the risk colors, right? As Dan was just mentioning, the Dallas tornado outbreak in April 2012 is a great example. That was a slight risk day that turned into a pretty historic outbreak. So a lot of things that we're watching very closely. Again, we're in an enhanced risk. We're not in the highest risk, but there's still ways that you need to be keeping an eye on in order to receive warnings. So Josh mentioned those as well. Sirens are not going to be enough. Weather Authority app's great resource to have. We talk about that all the time. You can find that in the Google Play and Apple App Store. Weather Call NextGen as well. We can show more information on that if you guys want. Weather Radio, NOAA Weather Radio text alerts. There's a lot of different ways to receive warnings because, as Josh just said, especially when you have thunderstorms moving through during the overnight hours, you want to have many ways to wake you up. A lot of ringing, a lot of calls, things like that, so you can get up out of bed and use your tornado precautions. And all of those ways are great resources to have right there for sure. Okay, so I wanted to show this as well because we also have a lot of questions about Wednesday, and I understand that too. And here's the deal about Wednesday. Unlike this system that's coming through overnight tonight to tomorrow, these storms are likely going to be developing and getting going over northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. This is our latest day 3 convective outlook. And you'll notice here that we already have a level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk of severe weather over a large part of the country. I'm going to zoom out here briefly, and then we'll get hyper local again. But look how wide this enhanced risk is 3 days out. Usually when you see an enhanced risk like this, folks, it means that they're setting up for an upgrade. Where that upgrade sets up, that remains to be seen. But we saw that with the high risk that's out in Oklahoma. There was a very large enhanced risk. Then they added a moderate for day 2, and then they ended up adding a high risk this morning. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be a high risk for Wednesday. I'm just saying that there probably will be an upgrade somewhere in this day 3 convective outlook. Now, if we go back here and we get hyperlocal again to take a look at that outlook a little bit more, you'll notice how there's that sharp gradient of that marginal and slight risk just off to the west of the area, which means these thunderstorms are going to be getting going in eastern Oklahoma and southeastern Kansas Wednesday afternoon, and then moving through northwest Arkansas and hitting their stride as they push through the area. And so this is why we need to keep an eye on Wednesday afternoon to the evening, because not only do we have that very large hail and damage and wind threat, I think the tornado potential could be even higher with the system over our area because these storms will likely be a little bit more discreet, which means they're a little bit more isolated, which means they have their own energy to work with. They're not getting killed off by outflow or by other storms. Though sometimes other storms can help strengthen them as well. We've seen that with all those tornadoes that went on in Texas over the last several days. But we're also going to keep an eye on Wednesday. I know a lot of folks are asking about Wednesday. It's still on our mind. But right now in the short term, our top story is what we've got coming up overnight tonight to tomorrow. But Dan's back in this call right now. Dan, you and I were talking about this just a moment ago over the phone. Wednesday's got the look as well for a big time severe weather event in northwest Arkansas and the River Valley.
It does. I mean, just potentially 3 big days of severe weather. Today, obviously, the greatest risk is west of us, but don't be surprised if there's some nasty storms in the early morning hours tomorrow. Then, as we go into Tuesday, the storm risk should be east, but then that warm front lifts northward again, and the dry line retreats, and it sets the stage and primes it for the day 3. Now, I think personally that day 3 is going to be shifted west. I just
Yeah.
know how this works. And you might say, oh, we're only on the western edge of the enhanced. Well, this is a day 3 convective outlook. We know how much the risk can change in the day 1. So,
Yeah.
and hey, Brian, what's going on, man? I got to see Brian at Lowe's this weekend. By the way, I was doing some home improvement projects and saw Brian, and he walked up and he's like, "Hey, what's going on, Brian?" So, anyways, I just want to
I love
say shout out to him. I asked him if he bought a bucket, but he didn't seem amused.
We're talking about the bucket forecast.
No.
That's funny. Yeah, we usually bring out the bucket for winter weather.
Yeah,
think.
I guess the bucket is a winter weather thing, but maybe
Yes.
it's like the weather rock. It could be the weather bucket. If it's
The weather
gone, it's
bucket.
a tornado.
Yeah, watch out, 8-ball. You've got a replacement coming.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know, the 8-ball, I'll tell you, I'll look at we'll bring it all out today, but the 8-ball was right on the money with that tornado that happened in Alpena, and it was just like, will we have a tornado in our weather coverage area? And it said, yeah,
I remember that event.
no doubt.
I remember when they came out with the mesoscale discussion that day, Dan, and you saw the winds, like how much they were backed. And Colby and I like texted each other at the same time. We're like, "Yep, tornadoes coming up tonight," because when those winds were backed like that, it was just insane how those
Yep.
storms took off. Those little mini soups. Those little mini soups is what I call them, mini supercells.
We'll look at some of the hodos tonight, but Josh says NAM for Wednesday concerning almost 5,000 Cape over
I'm
us.
gonna see that. Yeah. Oh yeah. Whoa. 4,800 Cape. Over Northwest Arkansas from one of those models. That is that's insane because usually you don't see high instability events like that, and we got to make that into a meme. Somebody's got to freeze frame that and make that into a meme right there. It's like 4,800 Cape.
That was like the looking. Yeah, that was like looking through. Oh, it didn't like that. It's like looking through the telescope, you know, with your eclipse glasses without putting a filter on the lens. It was like, yeah. Woo, man, I'm hideous in the morning. I'm hideous overall, but I'm especially hideous in the morning. I'm working in Springfield. It's not looking good here either. Yeah. Springfield's interesting as well. So, anyways, I'm gonna bounce. I got a lot to do. I know you've got to finish this up, but my goodness. What about the excessive rainfall forecast too? We could have flooding overnight tonight and into the morning because these storms are going to produce such heavy rain and the ground's completely saturated. And the models are underdoing, in my opinion, stratiform rain behind it.
Yeah, so this is the latest day 1 outlook. Honestly, Dan, when you look at this, I kind of agree with you. You know, you see, we always say don't get caught up in the colors, right? I know it says only a marginal, 1 out of 4. I just go ahead and assume that's a level 2 plus. With how saturated we are on the ground, it's not going to take much to cause scattered flash flooding over Northwest.
Yeah, with all those storms dumping 2 inches of rain and per hour potentially. And then not only that, but you have the saturated ground conditions, and then you also have that stratiform rain behind it that will still dump heavy rain. Now, typically that doesn't lead to flooding, but we're soaked. The ground is soaked. So.
Yes. Yeah, forget that drought that we had in Northwest Arkansas. That thing is a thing of the past at this point.
Should be if they didn't remove it. Yeah, if they didn't remove it, it's still in there for the drought monitor. But
I'd be stunned if on Thursday we saw it still there. I would be.
Couple of key takeaways. Can you show them Weather Call Next Gen? Because now is the time to get signed up for this. Because here's the deal: in the early morning hours, when you're a little disoriented, you're sleeping, you might hear a warning for Benton County, but it could be Bella Vista and you're in Springdale, you know, or you could be in southwestern Siloam Springs. That's Benton County, but let's say the storm's in Bella Vista. this is going to tell you only if you're in the path of the warning. So, and maybe you can share a screen to show how you can get to there and sign
Yeah,
up.
absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to pull up that link right now. We'll do a share screen right here so we can take a look at that. Because as Dan was just mentioning, folks, this is a game-changing product. You will not be disappointed if you sign up for Weather Call Next Gen. I know, we were just talking about storm fatigue, Dan. There's a such thing as warning fatigue as well, right? You could be in northern Benton County and Bella Vista, tornado warning is issued for southern Benton County, but you still get the tornado warning if you're in Bella Vista, just the same as somebody who lives in near the Springdale area, a little farther south, right? And so this Weather Call Next Gen product can allow you to get warnings only if you're in the specific polygon. And you're also going to get up to the second radar information. You're going to get lightning data as well. So I'm going to go ahead and show that right now here. I'm going to pull that up.
How about if you're in the rural areas? If you're in rural areas, then, it'll call landlines too. Think about how bad the cell service is. Cell service was pretty poor by Sulphur, Oklahoma, and some of the surrounding areas, and so that's really, really important when you have those rural areas. It'll call landline phones, and when you sign up, it'll allow you to put you and your husband or you and your significant other. And street cams are important too. And boy, do we have a slew of cameras. Make that Gravit camera working today. I'm gonna try my best.
Oh, that'd be clutch to have it. That's for sure.
I've contacted multiple times people that are in charge and just haven't heard of anything.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be so clutch to have that Gravit camera because I feel like that's where the storms are going to be even more prevalent as they push off to the south and east. Like that's going to be one of our first views.
Decatur, Maysville, Sulphur Springs, Gentry, Pond, the old historic place that had the coldest temperature ever recorded in Arkansas history.
Mm-hmm. And what I'm doing right now as well, I'm going to put, if you guys are interested as well, you want a direct link to Weather Call Next Gen, I'm putting in the comments right now that link to it. It's weathercallservices.com /KNWA-NextGen, right? And that's that website that you're seeing right now. And what you'll do is you'll first see this screen right here. It'll be at the top of the screen. And all you got to do is scroll down a little bit until you get to the which option fits you section. And then you can click on register for Weather Call Next Gen if you're a new user, or if you've had Weather Call in the past, you can also upgrade to Weather Call Next Gen to get all of that latest information right there. So these are the two links that you need to be looking for. Again, I know a lot of folks are probably new to Weather Call Next Gen. So if you want to register for that, just scroll down a little bit, find which option fits for you, and click on that link right there to register for Weather Call.
So Latricia had a great question, and this is something we definitely need to tell people. Is it free? So in order to pay for the phone servers, so they're for certain going to be able to call you, because think about this, is thousands of calls going out in a matter of seconds. And Code Red and BC Alert, these are things that can get bogged down, especially with a tremendous amount of storm cover. So those servers have to be paid for, and you get what you pay for. Sometimes you get free apps and stuff like that, and they're not the best. So the answer is no, it is not free, but it's $1 a month. So, I mean, that is not very much. It's about $12 a year. And I think you're going to like it. If you don't, you can cancel and you can get your money back. But never had anybody. And so you got some people worth the minimal money. I mean, it's just, it's not very much.
Yeah, it's a life-saving service. It's a life-saving service. We talk about multiple ways to receive warnings. And, a lot of folks I know, me included in that, but we get warning fatigue a lot of the times. This solves that problem and then some. And you're just going to get up-to-the-minute information. Dan, I know you recorded a lot of those things as well, so you're going to get a lot of information directly from Dan on that. And it also lets you know too, like when you're taking shelter and stuff like that. I know a lot of folks ask, well, when is it safe to get out of cover right in my area? It'll tell you that. It'll give you a call directly and say, hey, you're okay to move out of your safe zone. The severe weather threat has passed. It's going to do all that. It's
really a great service, and it's exclusive to us. So you got to check it out, and many people have it. So it is really good. It's kind of like us on standby, giving you the call. And, let's face it, we can't be on top of every single storm known to man. You just can't. Sometimes
Yeah.
storms sneak up on you. Sometimes storms pop up pretty quick. Rena's asking what's going on. Just got on. There's a lot going on. There's a high risk of severe weather out west. We've got storms expected overnight tonight, significant storms, and then we've got severe weather potential for Wednesday. So a lot happening, and because of that, I got to bounce because I got a lot going on as well. But I will be doing a live update with the boys later on as Josh is going to be out there. Maybe we can get a live report, seeing where he's storm chasing, and so we got that quick transition from El Nino to neutral conditions, and sometimes that does favor. It's a possibility why it favors this. I can tell you this: there was slight. I want to say there was slight warming with May 3rd 99. I can't remember the exact ENSO. I know it was a La Nina, but I think it was slightly warming. So anyways.
Yeah. I'll be with Colby Ward tonight. Yeah, I'll be with Colby Ward chasing. So we're gonna have the live stream there.
Okay.
And,
so
yep.
I guess a little more than $1 a month. So it's $1. It would be $1, like just over $1 a month.
Yeah, like $1 and some change.
Yeah, and take 100 divided by 12. Yep, 108.
That's just off the top of my head. But,
yeah, just pretty good.
Yeah, about as much as a large sweet tea from McDonald's. And you can't beat a large sweet tea from McDonald's, and you can't beat Weather Call Next Gen. That's for sure. Dan, don't forget to get your Taco Bell Mountain Dew Baja Blast Freezy.
It's coming.
Yeah,
it's coming. I'm gonna go buy some Baja. I saw someone checking out and Baja Blast. I was like, oh yeah,
oh yeah,
Baja Blast. I got one ready.
Yes, sir.
Can't afford it now, but saved it to the website. Maybe we'll be able to get maybe we can get a free trial going. Let me call them up and see if we can get a free trial, and then that way you can have it, and if you like it, then you can upgrade. I'll do that, and I'll give you an update on that later, and let you know if there's a free trial. So, all right. Well, I got to run. Josh, you be safe out there. Please be safe.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
It's going to be.
This is one of those days we can't mess with it, man.
Yeah, and it could be really dangerous with all the chaser convergence too. So you're going to have to watch that. There's going to be a lot of people out there, and make sure you don't try to 0 meter a tornado, because the other people that will be 0 metering a tornado won't be able to escape when they need it. I'm concerned about the chaser community, because I feel a lot of people are 0 metering tornadoes. They're very close to them, and maybe in some ways not respecting them. Tornadoes are extremely powerful. I don't care if you have a M1 Abrams tank. They can toss those things. I really hope there's not a casualty in the chaser community today.
And we've seen in the past too that even the best of us can be impacted by significant tornadoes as storm chasers. I mean, probably the biggest legends in the storm chaser community, Tim, Paul Samaras, Carl Young, all of them. I mean, they were killed in the El Reno tornado in 2013. And, it can sneak up on you so quickly. These storms are unpredictable out in the field. As much as we, try to predict them perfectly, we can't. Nobody is perfect. And these storms, especially today, when you have the potential for maybe some deviant motion and stuff like that, and a high amount of people that are going to be out there, it's the perfect recipe for something bad to happen. So if there are some storm chasers watching as well, this is the same thing for you guys. Please be careful out there. Try to stay ahead of these things. I know it's going to be very tempting early on to get on these storms and get to them, but then all of a sudden they become HP monsters. You get overtaken, then you run into chaser traffic, and then you're in big trouble. So just be careful. Be very, very careful if you're a storm chaser today.
All right, man. The crazy one that happened a few days ago should have been a wake-up call. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of wake-up calls. Unfortunately, in our area, wake-up calls too. So tornadoes can change directions dramatically. There's on the soundings, there's a thing called DTM, deviant tornado motion, and that can happen when the storm occludes. And there's going to be a lot of cell mergers today. I know Cameron Nixon's going to have a field day looking at these cell mergers. It's going to be interesting. Going to be interesting for sure. So make sure your pets are safe. I know Cade's going to be cleaning out his tornado shelter. It's not steel reinforced concrete, but it is for us, the best place to go underneath the stairwell. We don't have that underground shelter anymore. But if you are in the market for an underground shelter, message me. Let me know, because I've got a person that can do it, that can do a great job. So,
And Hydra asked a good question just now. So after this severe weather, will we be done for the rest of the week? We will not, because we've got more severe weather coming up on Wednesday, and that could be even more significant over our weather coverage area. You know how Oklahoma right now is getting the most significant severe weather with this system? That could be us. We could be in the bullseye for that. And I agree with you, Dan. I think that enhanced risk is going to shift west. And as I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to go back to this just real quick. I know you might have to go here, Dan, but I wanted to mention that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hold on just 1 second. I'm going to pull this up full screen right here.
Did you do the probabilistic? Yeah, look at that real quick, just to let you know.
Yeah, so check this out. This is kind of crazy right here. So I'm going to pull up the probabilistic severe weather risk. Look at this giant hashed risk for significant hazards. And anytime you have an enhanced risk like this, and we're still talking about your comment, Hydra, but anytime you have a significant risk like this 3 days out where you have a wide enhanced risk, it typically means that they're going to upgrade it somewhere. It typically means it's a setup for a moderate risk of severe weather to be issued a little bit further along the road. So this is something that we're going to be watching very closely Wednesday afternoon, because everybody along the I-49 corridor and the Interstate 40 corridor is going to have the potential for significant severe weather as we move throughout Wednesday afternoon. So this is a real deal right here for Wednesday in Northwest Arkansas in the River Valley.
Yeah. I like Josh's comment on there. Our weather pattern is like an old Billy Mays ad.
But wait, there's more.
Or it's like this. That's a lot of damage.
And speaking of a lot of damage, Dan, guess who's just commented? It's our boy.
Yep.
It's the Jacob right here. Do you think a moderate or even a high gets issued for Wednesday for Northwest Arkansas? And Jacob, I'll say my typical answer. TBD. Stay tuned. To be determined. I think there is the potential. Yeah. There is potential for it to happen for sure. Now, you were also asking earlier about, do you think a moderate will be issued for here in Northwest Arkansas this afternoon into the evening? I think Northeast Oklahoma could get clipped, but that's about it. I don't think Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley are going to see a moderate risk for tonight. I just don't see it happening. Dan, do you think so? Or?
I agree 100%. I see some people asking about specific towns and cities. I don't understand.
Well, I've got this right here. This can give you a general idea of what we're expecting for each town. I might have to shift this just a little bit more, but I do think, I know most of our folks live along the I-49 corridor, so we'll start there. I think most of us are going to see these showers and storms move through between 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. I think that's a pretty good time frame for areas along the I-49 corridor as well as along Interstate 40. You get a little bit farther east, that severe weather potential could continue through about sunrise tomorrow, and then it should taper off after that. So that's why we have the main time frame between 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I still think there's the potential for a couple of isolated to scattered thunderstorms this afternoon, but those will not be too significant, in my opinion, just because the upper level support is not going to be there. We're going to have parameters in place. We already have quite a bit of instability that's going to be in place this afternoon. So maybe some hail and damaging wind threats this afternoon with those thunderstorms, Dan, if they do end up developing. But in terms of tornado potential, we're really going to rely on that upper level support to move in overnight tonight with that strong low-level jet. The low-level wind shear again tonight is going to be absolutely insane over Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. So if you're watching and you can see us in our viewing area, in our weather coverage area, you need to be on guard. The weekend is supposed to be nice though, right? Storms move out. I got the pickleball tournament on Friday and Saturday, and this weather better not mess with me, or we're gonna have some. I'm gonna get Rob after him.
Yeah, Rob will get you, man. Don't mess with Rob. Better call
Rob.
Yeah. That's for sure. I got good news for you, Dan. Friday looking great for some pickleball. So I think we could keep Rob, in the woodshed, ready to go just in case things change. But I think Friday we're going to be fine in Northwest Arkansas. of course, as we move throughout Saturday and Sunday, there is some indications that we may get a little bit more shower and storm activity both of those days. But the good news is temperatures will be dropping off significantly. We won't have a whole lot of parameters in place for severe weather. And I think this weekend is looking overall pretty fine. Hopefully the rain chances hold off, though, because I want to watch Arkansas play Mississippi State in the last home series of the year. I don't want any more doubleheaders or delays. That would be fantastic. But in terms of severe weather potential, again, there's 2 days that we're watching, overnight tonight to tomorrow and Wednesday as well. And as you can see, Dan, I already went alert day for Wednesday. I just thought that we should go ahead and increase that sense of urgency for Wednesday. I think Wednesday has the potential to be a pretty significant day.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's the right move.
Yeah. Yeah. We usually don't
take those alert days very seriously. We do not, like Josh said, we don't put them on there just because there's a thunderstorm risk or just because there's severe weather. But those are heightened severe thunderstorms. These are high impact, life threatening. I know all weather could be life threatening, but these are the ones that, like, okay, you really need to pay attention to this.
Yes.
And we don't try to put that on there lightly. We don't just put it on every storm event. Well, Josh, I got to run. I really do. But a couple questions that I know you need to address, and then you got your editorial meeting. The timing for Wednesday looks to be during the afternoon, like a lot earlier than this event overnight tonight. Show that tornado graphic where the best place to take shelter is. A lot of people not knowing. What about a hallway or a closet or something like that? Because Kathy B has got that on there. So
yeah, absolutely. Yep. This is our DUCK acronym right here. We always stress this every single time we have significant tornado potential in our area. It means downstairs, under something, center of the house, keep away from windows. And one thing that I always typically add to, Dan, to this is have something to protect your head. I think under something can kind of fit with that, but a bicycle helmet is a great thing to have. Mattress or something like that, put that over you. Anything to protect your head, because that's the most vulnerable part of your body. We get a lot of ways that people get injured or killed by tornadoes is from flying debris impacting their face or neck area. So if you have a helmet on, you have a mattress over you, just something to put over you, that can be the difference between getting significantly injured by a tornado or not. And so that's another thing I'll add to this DUCK acronym as well.
Can you show the one with the house where it just gives you an idea? You want to be as far away from the outside walls as possible.
Yes. Stand by just a minute on that. I can pull that up.
And then also, too, don't go underneath an overpass. That happened on May 3rd, and unfortunately, people died. May 3rd, 99. That's when that really came out, and people was like, no. Gas. How does it work if a tornado is sighted here? Does it have a system shut off? No, I don't think so. I think you have to know where your gas line is to shut off if needed, because a lot of times when a tornado comes through and there's a lot of damage, you'll smell gas because those gas lines have ruptured. So do you know what I'm talking about, Josh? That safety graphic?
I just don't have it on my show, so just stand by for just a second. I'm just pulling it up here. I know it's under severe weather safety category, so I'm just trying to pull it up on our content. All right, here we go. Here we go, right here. All right, so this is the graphic that Dan was talking about right here. And Dan, we just talked about center of the house, right? So those green shaded areas right there, the hall or the basement are going to be your 2 best bets. Now, if you don't have a below ground shelter, right, like a basement or like a storm shelter, a built-in storm shelter, the hall or closet are going to be your best bets in order to stay protected during tornadoes. You don't want to be in any of those red shaded areas right there. You don't want to be in the living room where it's very big, very expansive. You don't want to be in the kitchen, garage, bedrooms where there's a lot of windows. You want to be away from windows. You want to be in the centermost part of your house, especially if you have to take shelter above ground. But as you can see from this graphic, the basement is the best place. If you're below ground, you're in the best possible place when a tornado is striking.
Yeah, and another thing, too, people think, I'm just going to go in my bathroom. Well, if your bathroom has a window, it's an outside wall, so that's not a good place. So that, in this case, the bathroom is not a good spot. But if your bathroom is in the interior part of the house without windows, then that's a good spot. So
yes.
Let's see here. One last question. weekend. Nice. Nope. I think we got it all. I think that's
I
it.
think we
All
got
right,
it all.
Josh. I'm bouncing. You be
Yes,
safe.
sir.
Take care. You can wrap it up. Appreciate what you do, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate Zach as well doing a live update last night. I'm getting a
Mhm.
workstation set up at my house, so I'm kind of putting together some stuff so I can go live on a nice computer, so not just my laptop, and we have something where I can do it pretty quick. So, anyways, we'll catch you later. I'll be in later on this afternoon. You have a good one. Be safe, and I'm out.
Yes, sir. God
See ya.
bless, man. Appreciate it, dude. Yes, have a good one. And
All right.
yeah, really, really happy that Dan was able to join in on that, and really happy with the amount of people on here. We got over 1,000 people right now. Thank you guys so much for trusting your weather authority team as severe weather is knocking on our doorstep. One more time, I'm going to give you a quick look at that severe weather risk, and then we're going to wrap things up because I got to get ready to go here. So just give me 1 second as I pull that up, and then we'll wrap it up. But I appreciate everybody for joining in this morning. Again, this is the latest day one outlook, and it's the real deal for Central Oklahoma and Southern Kansas. This is also the real deal in Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. We need to keep a close eye on this, but you notice we got that level 5 out of 5 high risk along the I-35 corridor. Again, as I mentioned before, if you have friends and family that you know that live in Central Oklahoma, along and north of Oklahoma City, just off to the south of Wichita, I implore you to make sure that they're prepared for today. Not everybody's going to see thunderstorms in that high risk area, but the locations that do could see highly impactful, life-threatening, life-changing weather. So just make sure that they're prepared. Level 4 out of 5, obviously a little bit farther east, and then for Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley, we're under that enhanced risk. So we'll be watching it very closely here in the Weather Lab. A lot of things still to fine tune, a lot of things still to get posted on social media. So again, thank you guys so much for joining in on this weather live stream. Hope everybody has a marvelous rest of your Monday. Dan Scoff, Peyton Langford, Zach Gilday, they have all the latest details coming up later this afternoon. And folks, thank you so much for trusting your weather authority team. We'll see you next time. God bless.